Hello and welcome to a Fireside Chat with Jethro MacDonald of SmartStream. Now, on today's agenda is AI and machine learning technology and how specifically SmartStream is using that technology to help firms with a number of business processes, including reconciliations. So firstly, welcome, Jethro. It's good to see you again, and thanks for spending a little bit of time with us today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Good. Now, Jethro, as a point of departure for today's discussion, what do you see as the primary challenges facing firms on both sides of the industry, that is the buy side and the sell side, when it comes to managing their reconciliations functions accurately and efficiently?
Yeah, so one of the major things that we're seeing at the moment is just the increase of data on kind of both sides of the fence. And what I mean by that is not only are the number of transactions that firms are doing have increased, astronomically over the last few years. We see that with the emergence of a lot of these challenger firms that are coming in, and just the volume of trades that people are doing, and also the number of columns that firms are now required to reconcile. We see it on both sides of the pond, that the regulations that they have now have a huge emphasis on the amount of data that needs to be reconciled, and the reconciliation is a core component of that regulation. We see it with CFTC, where there are upwards of 100 plus columns that now need to be reconciled, and that's a continued theme in Europe as well, with EMEA refit coming next year, where there's 100 plus columns that need to be reconciled. So there's a huge now onus on firms being able to reconcile a lot of data, a lot of columns, and also big volumes of data at the same time. And not just that, the other thing that we have as well is obviously with interest rates being so high across the globe, we're seeing a lot of people moving around in jobs, and this then means that the knowledge that those individuals have is lost when they lose. So that's also another challenge that these firms are facing as well.
Yeah. That the fluidity of the job market is really interesting right now because, as you say, it's very, very difficult to retain kind of core talent within the business, especially young people who are looking to kind of move up through the organization. They're quite often tempted away from the business, and I suppose one way of retaining that experience, that knowledge, etc., is through kind of technology. And I suppose we'll touch on that in a little bit later.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about SmartStream as a service provider and how it goes about addressing those issues using AI and machine learning technology, which I kind of prefaced at the top of this interview. What does SmartStream bring specifically to the Rex table from an AI and machine learning perspective that you believe sets it apart from other similar providers in the market?
Yeah, well, there's a number of areas that we utilize AI in our solution to really help firms. The first is with the quick onboarding of those new controls. So as I mentioned earlier, regulation and the emphasis on reconciliations is huge now. And with that is a time constraint of ensuring that you've got the relevant controls in place as quickly as possible. With our technology, we're able to look at the different data sets that we need to reconcile, and identify quickly using AI how that data should go together and what match rules there are to kind of push that match rate up. This is really powerful for users. So instead of having, days and weeks and months of building these recs, you can do them now in hours, which is really helping them with those side of things. The other side then, if we talk about the volume of data that firms are using, and this is more from a cloud perspective, the way that we deploy our solution means that as your volumes grow, we can grow. We're a cloud native solution, which means that when we need the processing power, we'll fire up more machines, load the data, match the data, and then bring those machines down again when we've done all that kind of heavy processing. So that's a number of ways that we're utilizing technology to help firms with these challenges that they're facing.
And that's the firing up of new processes, new machines, etc., to do with the bulk kind of processing. And that's done on an intraday basis, not kind of end of day batch processing, right? It's kind of done on the fly when demand is at its greatest, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when the data sets are there and ready to go, we will fire up as many processes as we need to kind of churn through that data and match it as quickly as possible. So yeah, it's happening throughout the day whenever files are available for the rec to trigger the process.
Good. Okay, let's talk a little bit about performance now, and what clients can reasonably expect in terms of performance enhancements to their REX functions by using SmartStream AI and machine learning-based REX platform. What are you seeing from clients or at the client side in terms of performance enhancements using SmartStream?
Yeah, so the main thing that we're really seeing at the moment is obviously with the various different controls that firms need to now have, and the need to onboard those quickly. With our solution, they're able to do that. Instead of having a person who's looking how that data correlates, they can quickly and easily do that with a solution, and that's presented back to them in a very readable way, and then they can make any changes they might want to make at that point. So from a performance perspective, you're able to deliver these reconciliations a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently to firms, so they can address those control needs that they have. The other side of things, when we spoke about the cloud technology before, from a performance perspective and the ease of actually loading the vast quantity of data that firms need to load, with the way that we have deployed our technology, it being cloud native and able to fire up more machines when that processing power is needed, that actually means that you can reconcile volumes that are almost unheard of in our industry, and also at a far quicker rate than you could do, maybe 5, 10, certainly 15 years ago.
Good. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Affinity. We can't not talk about Affinity, which is the observational learning functionality that is embedded within SmartStream Air. Do you want to talk just very briefly about how Affinity works? And then, I suppose more importantly, how does it enhance firms' overall REX functions, this observational learning tool that sits within the platform?
Yeah, so what it does is basically on any unmatched data that you have remaining as a user, typically day to day, you'll go in, try and understand why there might be a break there, and look to resolve that by escalating with a different team and finding out what's happened. And then you'll go in and manually match that data. Sometimes you have data in there that maybe should have been picked up by a match rule, but it hasn't been configured yet. So you're kind of just going through, doing your work and cleaning up kind of those remaining records that are outstanding. What the system does, which is really powerful, is it actually learns from those interactions that users have done before. So if you matched a transaction a few days ago, the system is continually learning the data and patterns of how that came together. And then what it's able to do is present back what it believes is correlations with the remaining outstanding transactions that you have that are unmatched, and proposing to you what it believes are the best possible matches for them. And you then have the ability to kind of go in and go, yes, I agree with that, or actually, no, I don't agree with that. But what it does is, instead of users going round and applying the logic that they've learned over years of working in those roles, it's applying that instantly so they don't have to. So instead of kind of wasting their time in the morning and going in and trying to do that analysis for them for themselves, the system's done that for them. And this really touches upon one of the points I made earlier really well, is that at this point now, you've got the knowledge that people have retained in the system. So the reason that something was matched is no longer retained in someone's head, it's actually retained in the system. And for firms, this is a huge advantage because, as we spoke, we're seeing a lot of people moving around in jobs. And now if they're able to kind of have that knowledge retained in the system, the risk of the individuals leaving is less of a burden now on these firms because that knowledge is in the system.
Just a final comment about Affinity. From what I understand, the application actually becomes smarter as it becomes more experienced. It kind of learns from successful outcomes and learns to and retains a kind of a knowledge of a successful outcome, and then applies that knowledge going forward. So it actually gets better, gets faster, becomes more accurate as it becomes more experienced, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the beauty of it is we don't, it's not like you turn it on and then it's learning from that point. We can actually go back and retrain it as well with previous data that's been matched. So yeah, there's a lot of learning that it's doing, but as you mentioned, the more that you manually match data, the more it learns, the better the model gets, the more accurate it becomes.
Good. It's a good point to finish our conversation on, Jethro. That just leads me to thank you very much for your time. Appreciate your time today. And it seems like SmartStream has lots of work ahead, exciting times. And it's been really good to catch up with you again. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's been great catching up.